Good evening, my fellow friends, my fellow neighbors, my fellow shining stars. The next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to our next trolley stop together here at Empowered Publicity. That is episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. My name is Jonathan Masiulionis, the president here at Empowered Publicity. Thank you so much for spending some time with us wherever you are and wherever you may be. Shortly after 7 o'clock Eastern time, oh my heavens, it is Monday, July the 20th. Where is this time going, right? Shortly after 4 o'clock Pacific, for all of our friends and neighbors out on the West Coast, a special hello to all of our friends out in the San Diego, California area as well. We really appreciate not only all of you spending some time with us here this evening, but for joining us throughout the month of July as we are continuing to celebrate Empowered Publicity's month-long 6-year anniversary celebration. Grateful for all of your time, grateful for all of your support, and most importantly for what it is that you are doing for the children, especially as of right now. We're on this beautiful bridge, right? We're still in the summer, but just off in the yonder distance. I think it's a great phrase to say, don't you agree? The yonder distance, right? Just sooner than we know it, back to school is around the horizon. And of course, we're still in a little bit of an interesting time as of right now, but you know that there is a silver lining in your day. You know that things are on the upswing when you find yourself singing Gene Wilder's Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory on loop earlier today. And you're wondering, well, what does Pure Imagination have to do with tonight's episode of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Jonathan? A whole lot. Because 3 of our newest neighbors, along with 1 magical kite, are here to help us open up our hearts and our minds of our children, as well as us big kids, to a world of pure imagination. I'm super excited to be able to share such a beautiful new children's book with all of you, our friends and neighbors, our listeners and viewers this week. Isn't that beautiful? The Adventures of Mr. Macaw, brand new award-winning children's book. It is now available. You can head on over to Amazon.com to purchase your copy. While there, you can leave your own 5-star review in the process. And our featured guest here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series is very much doing her part to be able to open up the minds and hearts of children, parents, and families all across Sacramento, California, across the country and around the world. She is Emmy-nominated anchor and reporter and award-winning children's author. Her brand new release, once again, The Adventures of Mr. Macaw. Leticia Ordaz joining us as our featured guest this week on episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Leticia, thank you very much for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood this evening and this week. How are things with you?
Great, Jonathan. I've been watching your episodes. I love what you're doing for children in our community, and it's truly an honor to be here with you today.
Such a very timely message, and there's so much that we're going to be talking about. So for those of you who are tuning in live, whether it be for the first time or the 85th time, if this message talking about imagination, pure imagination, is inspiring you, if it's bringing healing into your heart, simply if you feel that it needs to be shared with someone in need, we encourage you, our friends and neighbors, our listeners and viewers, to share episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series if you are watching live here on Facebook, if you are catching us on the replay at empoweredpublicity.com or via Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel. Thank you for the subscription, by the way. Feel free to be able to share on your favorite social media platforms of choice. Leticia, I credit the wonderful work that you're doing right now. And it's sometimes when people think of someone in the media, it can seem very, at least this impression, some people may get that, people have large egos, right? And it just kind of comes with the territory. In every single industry you will have, those sorts of egos, but you're very humble, you're very genuine. I love what it is that you're sharing for and with the children. For those who are learning about your story and your work for the first time, could you really share a little bit about your journey to penning this beautiful children's book and really what particular point in time on your path made you realize, I want to do this work to be able to complement what it is that I'm doing on television?
For sure. Well, I write for a living. We write our stories every day, but it's a tight deadline and it goes on the air that day. And life changed for me when I became a mother 8 years ago. I wanted to raise bilingual children, and I had a really hard time finding picture books that represented my children. So I ended up finding some books and translating all of the books each night. It was so important for me to share our Spanish language, our culture. So my children, from the time they were in my womb, have been learning about Spanish, and I've been sharing a bilingual tales with them ever since. So it just made sense that I would write my own children's book, and no longer would I have to pretend to be reading a bilingual book. I would create one.
In your book, on the back cover, you had mentioned that statistics currently show that there are only 5% of Latin authors and illustrators in the U.S. Is there a specific reason why you felt that was the case? Did that statistic kind of take you aback a little bit? And if anything, how did that really serve as fuel and a springboard for you to be able to say, you know what, if there's not that many books, I'm going to kind of take the torch, so to speak, and move forth and blaze my own trail while also helping to blaze a trail for other Latin American authors and illustrators?
Definitely, Jonathan. When I learned about that, I had already written The Adventures of Mr. Macaw, but it wasn't an actual book yet. It was still a manuscript. And I actually had to call the university and have a conversation with them in Wisconsin saying, this statistic cannot be real. I knew that there weren't a lot of books that represented the Latino culture and featured Latinx children, but I had no idea that not only were there only 5% authors that were Latinx published in the entire country, but also stories were not seeing themselves. Only 5% of the time out of all the books published in the US, and we're talking thousands of books, only feature Latinx characters 5% of the time as main characters. And I thought, this picture is wrong. I want children of all nationalities to see themselves in books. I feel like it raises their self-esteem. And in this particular book, it's based on an adventure that I had with my own children. So what a gift to put them in a book and for them to see brown characters that are actually them.
I feel that, and this is one of the things that I'm a strong proponent of here at Empowered Publicity, is there is no exchange for reading with your children. There's scientific research that's been done, I mean, all the way on up to just seeing the interactions that you have when you take the time to read to your little one, or even just spend time with children, whether it be a niece, a nephew, if someone is a teacher and they read to their students, there's something there that happens. How much of that component was important to you in your mission as a children's author, knowing the fact that not only that your books would obviously be shared with more children, parents, and families, but the fact that you would be bringing them closer together as well, too?
I think it is so important. I've been reading to my children. It's a top priority in our house. I can't tell you how many children's books we have. It's countless. So it's just such a special bonding time. They look forward to it. And sometimes they pick the same book over and over again. They love the book. It just makes their imagination grow. And I can tell you that by the time my children turned a year old, I have two little boys, by the time they turned a year old, they were speaking hundreds of words and big words. And I believe it's really because I exposed them to literature at such a young age. When I was growing up, we didn't have the kind of money to buy a lot of books. So we went to the library a lot, and we really appreciated and cherished those books. But we didn't have a huge library at home. So it was always my dream that when I became a mother, I was going to have a boatload of books, so to speak, so my children could just have a book in their lap every day. It's very important.
The work that you put into this book, between the writing and the illustrations, and I do want to be able to give a shout out to Yana Popova, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name correctly, such great illustrations in the process, and this beautiful, really beautiful soul. I mean, I've never thought that a kite could have a soul, but I mean, Mr. Macaw totally just breaks that sort of myth. If you could kind of peel the veil back, one of the things that we love to do here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series is to be able to take our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, sort of behind the scenes to the creation process, what it was like to be able to put this specific book together. I can tell that this message is something that more than likely just didn't happen overnight. It seems that you're very mindful of the creative process, and you give the necessary due diligence and time, because when you're bringing something to life, it has to feel right on all levels. So could you take us, peel the veil back a little bit, and what this process was like overall. How did this specific story actually come to be?
Yes, well, it actually was based on an adventure that I had with my family. We were in Cabo San Lucas, and we really do own a Mr. Macaw kite. It happened to be 2018. Hurricane Bud was coming, and it was quite windy outside. It hadn't quite arrived to Cabo San Lucas where we were staying, and it was a beautiful day though, and it was windy. And the boys said, "Can we go fly our favorite kite outside?" So that is something that we went to go do. We love flying our kite. It just brings us so close together. It gets us off technology and just enjoying life, nature, the beach. So we were out there, and storm blew away our favorite kite.
No.
So my kids were devastated. This kite is a part of our family. It's true. It is a part of our family. And I can tell you that everyone around the village stopped what they were doing. They were literally putting sandbags under doors, nailing windows just to make sure that there was no damage in the resort area. And everyone dropped what they were doing to help my little boys find their favorite kite. I thought all hope was lost. I said, there's no way in this kind of storm are my kids going to get their kite back. But this village really proved that they had such an amazing big heart. And I told my husband that this was a story that I had to write, that it was going to become a children's book because I wanted to show the heart of the Mexican village to children everywhere.
I think that some of the best stories that you see with children's books, they come from life experience, so to speak. But there was a combination, it seems, with this where it's a matter of like there was a real life experience plus imagination. And it was interesting because actually I give you credit because until today, I had never looked at the words of Gene Wilder's song, Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I don't think I've ever sung that kind of a song like continuously. I was playing it for about 45 minutes straight in my office, just getting in the mood and the vibe for tonight's children's book spotlight series. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with the spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. Why is it important, you feel, especially as of right now, amid everything that's happening in the world right now? There's different things that are happening right now, obviously, and you can attest to that, seeing that in your television work each and every day. Why is it important for children as well as adults, what we like to call the big kids here in the Children's Book Spotlight series, to spend some time being with your imagination, especially right now?
We have to imagine what life is going to be like after the pandemic. Everyone wants to travel again. Everyone wants to go to the beach. Everyone wants to fly a kite, be with family. And I just feel like this adventure, and when you think about magic and kids think about magic, it's an escape for them. It's a really hard time right now. Parents are anxious, kids are anxious, stress level is at an all-time high. There are so many unknowns. My kids keep asking me, when is the coronavirus going to be over? When can I give somebody a real hug, a real kiss? They are desperate for that affection from outside of their home as well. They miss their teachers, they miss their friends. But if they can read a book, it takes them somewhere else. It takes them into another world, a magical world. Whether they're feeling down that day, they can open up a book and feel happy and know that life is going to get better and that there is happy endings to everything. And the message in the book is that you always have a village. Your village is there and will always save the day. And I feel like books give us hope.
They do. And books, especially yours, help all of us connect with our imaginations. I want to share one of my favorite illustrations where, again, if you just think that Mr. Macaw is a kite, well, again, this illustration will just, again, buck that belief, so to speak, right here. I mean, this is apps to kind of pull back out here so you see the full two-page spread. It's absolutely beautiful. Just take us through the process of working with Yana with the illustrations, because depending on the author-illustrator connection, depending upon if the book is self-published or published, sometimes authors and illustrators don't connect until like the book comes out, and there is just this, we'll call it this invisible trust that's in place, right? That's like, okay, here's what my vision is for the illustrations. I'm trusting that you're going to know what to do. You give it to the illustrator, and you have to trust the fact that you two are on the same page with one another. And it seems that you two were working synergetically to really bring Mr. Macaw to life, just like that. Could you take us through the process of working with your illustrator to actually bring this beautiful book to life and the wonderful work that you did in the process?
It took Yana about 4 months to illustrate the book, and I can tell you that every single day we were in communication. I spoke with her every single day, and we were just so in sync. We had so much fun creating this book, and we just loved having daily conversations about the book and the illustrations. And I gave her pictures of the real incident that really happened to my family with a magical twist. So I sent all these pictures to her, and she just blew my mind when she did the storyboard and the magic behind the illustrations. It's like she was there in Mexico with us. She just understood the culture. She understood the vibrant colors. Everything about these illustrations was just a right fit for the book. It was just like magic working with her. It was just like we were meant to be paired up. She knew exactly what I wanted, and we just had such a connection.
I also do want to mention that The Adventures of Mr. Macaw actually scored the 2020 Kids Shelf Books Cover Design Awards. So again, if you're just absolutely mystified by the cover art of The Adventures of Mr. Macaw, it's got that seal of approval from the folks at Kids Shelf Books in the process. Again, for those of you who are tuning in, welcome to episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Joining us here in our neighborhood this week is our featured guest, is Emmy-nominated anchor and reporter and the award-winning children's author of the brand new release, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Cielito Lindo Books. I just love the name of the publishing company, Cielito Lindo Books. Again, The Adventures of Mr. Macaw. It is now available. When heading over to Amazon, of course, you can leave your 5-star review for Leticia in the process if you feel guided to do so. We do have Leticia's social media links below on Instagram and Twitter, so you can continue to keep this wonderful connection flowing, leading into the latter portion of what we like to call the Summer of Magic and Miracles here at Empowered Publicity and beyond. One of the really great themes of the book as well, too, in addition to imagination, you could really call it a theme. You could talk about something that's really very timely. I know that here in Buffalo, where I still currently reside for now, we have our Erie County Fair, which is the big fair that we have in the Buffalo and Western New York area. I believe it's over 150 years old. And this is where children, parents, families flock together. They bring close to 2 million people, if not over, like a 10, 14-day span kind of thing. And it's been canceled among pretty much everything else, from the Tucson Festival of Books to the Erie County Fair. Just everything's been canceled for the most part. And it seems like, one of the things that imagination can help us with is maybe if we want to take that summer vacation, right, to a nice, warm, tropical climate, and we're not able to do so just right now, that we can really do that in our mind. Now, obviously, again, leading into the creation of this book, you had Zippo idea that COVID-19 was going to be in place, right? So when it comes to be able to helping people to create these experiences in their mind, what does that mean to you, especially right now, again, knowing the fact that this book can actually make more of a greater impact in the process?
I had no idea that this was coming. My book debuted right as the pandemic hit. I was scheduled to do a Barnes & Noble signing. We were planning to have a kite festival in West Sacramento. I wanted to bring mariachi and the community together. I wanted to have a beautiful celebration and for kids to really celebrate seeing themselves in books. That was canceled, but all was not lost. Before the pandemic hit at the beginning of March, I did get to visit 3 schools in person, and just seeing the reaction firsthand from students when I read them the book. First of all, they sat through the entire thing in awe, and I was blown away by their interest, and kids screaming out, "That looks like me." That really touched my heart. going into some bilingual classrooms and having some of the little girls shout out, that little girl, that little boy looks like me. It just brought tears to my eyes to be able to make that connection with kids, for them to fall in love with Mr. Macaw. And then the pandemic hit. But it has been a blessing in disguise in some sense, because we're able to reach a wider audience. I had no idea I would be doing virtual readings. And I've been invited to do a number of virtual readings, including to hospitals. So for me, that really touched my heart to know that I could do a reading for hospitals across the country, and to be able to bring those children stuck in a hospital bed a sense of magic, imagination, and hope, to know one day you will get out of that hospital bed. You are going to go have an adventure with your family. It's just meant the world to me to be able to connect with kids, not just down, but kids all over the world.
One of the other visuals that I see, I always love sharing wonderful visual imagery for our listeners and viewers and for our friends and neighbors, is the fact that one of the things that I am seeing amid the current climate is people moving forward in their life's purpose. People moving forward, taking maybe their most important steps of their lives amid what everything is happening right now. And just the beautiful visual of Mr. Macaw flying in the sky, that's just a reminder that either your time is now, or maybe if you're kind of in that cocooning phase, right, where it's kind of like between chrysalis and butterfly, and you're like, well, you know, I want to write my first book, or I want to open up my own business, or, you know, I want to move to a different locale. And maybe if the time is now and you want to follow through with it, then Mr. Macaw is inspiring you in one direction. If you're kind of moving through some stuff, because there's a lot of people that are going through, whether it be job loss, death of a loved one, it could be the proverbial divine storm, where it seems like everything is going wrong all at once. It's important to hold that vision, you know, keep that in your imagination and your mind's eye. And then when that time comes, you'll be like Mr. Macaw. You'll be flying like there's no tomorrow, right? You'll transform from a kite into a macaw yourself, right?
Yes.
To briefly touch upon one of the things that we had alluded to beforehand is the fact about bilingual books for children. And I feel that, you know, there is, you know, what we like to call the little neighbors here at Empowered Publicity and the Children's Book Spotlight series. There is a whole generation of children that are seeing the world through a very unique lens right now. And I think one of our responsibilities that we have as parents, caregivers, and custodians of children is to be able to remind children, especially with whatever they want to do for the rest of their lives, that can and will be a possibility. Acknowledging the fact that your story is helping, you know, boys and girls of different ages, and just in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, Latinx children. Could you share just a little bit about what that means to you, knowing the fact that you know there could be, you know, dozens, if not more, of children all across the country and around the world that say, Leticia is a children's author, I want to do the exact same thing, or follow in some sort of a similar suit, whether it be, you know, as a graphic designer, or, you know, maybe to be able to write an inspirational book or a spiritual book, however that necessarily, you know, reflects to them. What does that mean to you?
I am so touched already, because after telling people about the book coming out, I have had a number of children at my children's own school tell me that they didn't consider themselves good writers, but that I have encouraged them to put it on paper. I always love to tell children, if you have an idea, write a journal, get it in writing, and then maybe one day it can become a story. It can motivate you to write. I think everyone has the power to be an amazing creator. It shouldn't just be 5% that are writing books in the Latinx community. So I definitely want to offer mentorship and encourage children everywhere to write. We are all writers. We are all creators. We have the power to achieve whatever our mind thinks that we can do. So I don't want children to set any limits on themselves. And I just am excited about the possibility that they're going to see themselves in books, that it's going to raise their self-esteem, that it's going to make them think that they can reach really high positions, and for them to go after their dreams, whether it's writing, whether it's reporting, whatever they choose to do. If they want to go to the moon, just to put that thought in their head early on, that you can achieve whatever you imagine.
And to be able to understand, I think this is more of a how question, but how do you feel that bilingual stories for children are and can continue to break barriers?
Well, there aren't a lot of bilingual books out there, and unfortunately, it's very tough to keep the language going. A lot of Hispanic families no longer speak both languages. They have forgotten how to speak Spanish, or they haven't taught their children Spanish. So I really think that bringing bilingual books to life and making them accessible, putting them in libraries and schools will definitely keep the culture alive, the language alive, and you don't have to be Latino to enjoy Spanish. In other countries, they speak 3 to 4 languages. So if we can learn another language in the USA, that's pretty amazing. It's going to help with your job, creative minds, critical thinking. It's been proven that if you speak another language as a child, it just helps with critical thinking. Even just reading another language, even if you're just listening to someone read in Spanish and you don't understand what they're saying, it's still opening up your mind. So I really think it's important for people to acknowledge that knowing another language is helpful for children who come from Spanish-speaking homes to be proud of their language, to not want to forget about it, to know that it's important, and to maybe teach it to their friends as well. And what a gift for parents who maybe they only speak Spanish to be able to pick up a book for the first time and to be able to read to their children in their native language. For grandparents to be able to pick up a book for the first time and read to their grandchildren. And the beauty about this book is that each page is in English and Spanish. So even if you're not fluent in Spanish, if you pick up a couple of words, you're already winning. If you can figure out that a kite is a papalote or that red is rojo, you're already exposing your children to another language. To me, it's just so important.
One of the things that I do have to say is, you talk about the influence of the Spanish language and the Hispanic culture. We'll kind of share this a little bit further here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We always remember when Mr. Rogers, when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmys, he encouraged people to take 10 seconds, maybe 30 if they felt guided to do so, to remember those who helped love them into being. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because, and we'll kind of cover that, in a little while. But someone who actually comes to mind is my Spanish teacher, Mrs. Leonard. And, I took Spanish for a couple of years. And, one of the things that we also do, which we will share later on this week's, I'm a little ahead of myself in the Children's Book Spotlight Series this week. But, we always like to celebrate birthdays. And it's interesting because, I still remember, Feliz cumpleaños a ti. Right? It's just interesting, how just, it's so important to be able to, if you are, if there's any specific, nationality that you have with you, to embrace those specific parts of yourself. Or if anything, even if you're Polish or if you're German and you want to be able to learn, more about the Latin culture and the Spanish culture, you can have the opportunities to do so. I think that many of us right now, we're really being given a golden opportunity to open up our minds even more. So we're seeing this in different areas, different ways, shapes, and forms right now. One of the things that I really wanted to get your thoughts on is the fact that, especially with, there are different people that will refer to what is happening or that what people are seeing on television as fake news, not necessarily referring to that to Donald Trump. There are some people that feel that the media is scaring people or that it's just projecting the bad stuff. Like we're, number of dead, number of sick. You're seeing these, it could just look like this 5-alarm fire when you turn on your television. And I feel that it's important to do one's part to keep people informed, but I feel that it's important to be able to share. Some people will call it, lighter stories, but I feel that there is a healthy balance that is needed, because if it's going to be doom and gloom 24/7 or during all parts of the newscast, it's not going to be giving people hope. It's not going to be helping to open up people's hearts. And we realistically don't want, at least from my own perspective, I'm choosing to not live in a world that's indoctrinated by fear or domination or control or mass hysteria or chaos. So everyone has a platform, whether it be a small platform or whether it be such as yourself working with KCRA in Sacramento. So you have people throughout Sacramento that say, okay, Leticia, I am trusting you. I am trusting you with my child to be able to share some things that can inspire us, that not can just give us hope, but can acknowledge the fact that that things are starting to get a little bit better, that there is some sort of silver linings, because eventually we will be on the other side of this. And we talked about that earlier in the green room. Could you talk to our friends and neighbors, our listeners and viewers, about what that responsibility means for you and how important that you feel it is, at least, representing television, that it is important to be able to share heart-centered stories that can unite people and not divide people or instill more fear than what's already out there in the world today?
Yeah, I definitely think we have a responsibility as journalists to be voice connectors. That is why I got into the business, to give the underrepresented communities a voice. Everyone should have a voice, and their voice should be heard. So I love to tell people stories. Feature stories is what they're called. We feature community champions, someone who's doing good in the community. Yes, we have to read the headlines about the coronavirus and the latest numbers and the science and what's going on in our communities with the closures and whatnot. But I have the privilege of also getting to tell feature stories, which is finding the good that is happening in our community, the neighbors that are feeding each other, the good things that are happening, the little libraries that are popping up, and on your street, just everyone coming together and doing something positive for someone else. So I really think that there are so many good stories happening during the pandemic. People are showing that there is so much good out there. And it's just been so inspiring to find those stories and to find those community champions. In town here in Sacramento, we have our sister Libby, a beloved nurse, a nun. She is a street nun. She goes on her bike every morning to feed the homeless, to make sure that they have water. She is such a special woman in our community. And I have done stories with her, and she is just so enlightening. Her heart is so big. She's been having such a hard time with the virus because she likes to give hugs. She doesn't care who you are. She wants to hug you and love on you. And right now, it's just not safe to hug right now. But she is finding her ways to show how much she loves her community, the most vulnerable in our community. And she stands up for them. She is their voice. And those are some of my favorite stories to cover.
When it comes to children's books, I feel that children's books, especially right now, are providing such a valuable tool, even more so than before. And, one of the things that, you're obviously a proponent of is, bringing children, parents, and families closer together. You are a proponent of reading. For those parents and educators that are tuning in tonight and this week who are, still kind of doing their part, they're kind of, trying to get their head on the correct swivel and be like, all right, what is this fall school, semester, whatever you want to class, what is the beginning of the school year going to be looking like? And the component when it comes to whether it be just spending quality time with your children or taking the time to actually read with your children, how can that latter part help to open up more space for that first part, so that no matter what the back to school thing looks like, whether it be distance learning, whether it's being back in the physical buildings, whether it's a combination of both, that, when kids can go back, they can say, you know what, I'm feeling more at peace. I'm feeling safer, because there's a greater likelihood if the child or children is going to feel at peace, they feel safe, there's a greater likelihood that's going to have that piggyback effect, the mirror effect, and their parents are going to feel safe too.
I think books always make us feel safe. We've had to do online learning, and I've got to admit, as a parent myself, it was quite stressful to work my full-time job and then to come home and to offer schooling to my children, to be their teacher for 8 hours a day. So yes, that was work them. I feel like sometimes kids listen better to their teacher than their own parents. They want to have fun with us. They don't just want to do, come on, let's do this math lesson now. So we would always take plenty of breaks in between. And if they were feeling overwhelmed with the assignment at hand, we would go sit down, and they'd still sit on my lap, 8 and 5 years old. That's okay. I love it. And I hope that never stops. But we would pick up a book, and that was kind of our break, our little escape. And just to read a book just brought so much magic. I could just see the light in their eyes, and they wanted to predict the ending, and they had their own twist, and they would open the book and say, can I have the story end like this? Oh, yes. Let's make this your own book. And I just feel like books offer children comfort, hope. We need to look at the positive, and I feel like a lot of parents are stressed out. And if you're feeling that anxiety and that stress that's coming with knowing that you're going to be offering distance learning to your child again, take those breaks and read to them, connect with them. You've got to have fun while you're learning. It can't just be like worksheet after worksheet. It has to be that connection. And if you can make that daily connection with your children, I think that they're going to be anxious to pick up books, and you're going to be raising lifelong readers, which is going to help everyone.
One of the things that I'm actually looking forward to, I know, Leticia, that there is the standard traditional model of school in the way in which we knew it. Science, math, if there's a school that teaches religion, social studies, right? I would just encourage, and maybe I'm putting this out there for the educators, but devote like one class a day with children's books. I would just be fascinated to see what would happen is, instead of focusing on, I understand the War of 1812 is important. I understand the Civil War is important, but just try it. Like, there's a lot of new things that are being tried right now. We're definitely not doing what no longer resonated with us beforehand, right? And there's so much change that's happening right now. So I encourage, especially for, all of those educators that have a voice and that can institute new things in the academic programs for their schools, try it out, see what happens. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, we're beginning to wind down our time with one of our newest neighbors here at Empowered Publicity, our featured guest here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Emmy-nominated anchor and reporter at KCRA out in Sacramento, award-winning children's author, the brand new release, The Adventures of Mr. Macaw. Let me get this straight. Las Aventuras del Señor Macaw. Thank
Correcto.
you. Thank you, Mrs. Leonard. See, it all pays off. Again, you can, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Cielito Lindo Books, you can head on over to Amazon.com. While there, feel free to leave your 5-star review if you feel guided to do so in the process. This is 5-star illustration right here. So, I always encourage our friends and neighbors, even if they kind of think the book's like 4 stars or 4.5, if the illustrations boost it up a little bit, then you just give it the 5-star review in the process. And of course, if you want to stay connected with Leticia on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, we have her links below in the comments so that you can continue this wonderful interaction that we're having tonight, moving forth from here into the latter part of the Summer of Magic and Miracles. We're, of course, channeling our own inner Gene Wilder here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, right? And we're talking about pure imagination, right? Now, some people that might be tuning in might be saying, that's not possible. There is too much happening right now. I need to focus on paying the bills, making sure that I have a roof over my head, food's on the table. I totally understand that that's all important. Some people may say, I cannot imagine things right now. I cannot be in this blissful, peaceful state because that sounds too woo-woo or too Shangri-La. I feel that there is a way to do that still, because, the childlike innocence within all of us is still there. And I think that many of us as adults, we take life way too seriously. Many of us for a long period of time have the to-do list, right? And I'm reading the to-do list in no specific order. This isn't my to-do list, but just a general one. Wake up, take out the dog, feed the cat, take the kids to school, do grocery shopping, pay the mortgage bill. And maybe somewhere in there, you might give 30 minutes for self-love for yourself, just if you had the time, so to speak. So could you talk to our friends and neighbors? Could you talk to our listeners and viewers when it comes to connecting with one's little one, especially, or if you have little ones in your household, how can you help to nurture the imagination of your child amid the current climate while also doing the same for yourself in the process?
I think it is so important to get outdoors. Maybe grab a picnic blanket, take your favorite book, head to your local park, sit down on a blanket, take a picnic, read a book out there, go see the turtles and the ducks, anything that's in the park. I really feel like it's so important for us to get some fresh air, especially with homeschooling coming up. I remember being trapped inside for so many hours, and just the kids need to get out. They need to go into the backyard. They need to go explore. I mean, just taking a little walk is so refreshing. And a part of our book is a Mr. Macaw kite that we had created. So we love taking that kite to our area park here and flying it. The kids, their laughter, I can tell you that hearing a child laugh is the best medicine in the whole world. Those giggles when the kite slips away, gets stuck in the tree again. Just go do something with your family. Make that connection. Take time out for your kids. If you are cleaning the kitchen, you want the house to be perfectly clean, that's fine. But when your kid says, Mom or Dad, come sit down with me, read me a book, please do it. They are begging for your attention and they crave that interaction. They're not seeing their grandparents right now. They're not seeing their friends or teachers. So if they need your support, take time, stop what you're doing. The kitchen can wait. The dishes can wait. Put your child on your lap and pick up a book or do another activity with them.
I appreciate you sharing that too. And I think, again, there's just something about that bond that's established. I feel that, one of the things, and this is the thing, I know that when you hear yourself saying, when we're on the other end of this, you know that we're going to be okay. When people say that in conversation, when we're on the other end of this, when all this is said and done, so there's a part of us that acknowledges the fact that, this too shall pass. We will be on the other side of this, right? And it's a matter of what are the things that we're choosing to do afterwards, and to make them really the new norm already right now. I know that sometimes people may, and this is a lot of the buzzworthy stuff, that the new norm means social distancing, washing your hands, and wearing masks. I'm actually choosing to believe that the new norm is, spending more time loving yourself, being kinder to other people, be able to do the things that light your fire, that really make your soul free. That's really the new norm, because again, when all is said and done and we're on the other end of this, those are the things that will really take precedence more so than anything in the process. Plus, none of those things, like when you love yourself, that feels good. It's not bringing in fear or hysteria or chaos or anything along the lines of that. I'm really excited about your next release as well. So we're going from the Adventures of Mr. Macaw to That Girl on TV Could Be Me. And I think that this is such a wonderful message because, as I mentioned, growing up when I was a wee little boy, I actually wanted to be the next Chris Berman. I wanted to be the next guy on ESPN, be on Sports Center, and it's kind of like, God had other plans for me, right? Work with children, for children's authors, eventually open up a children's hospice for terminally ill children in the San Diego area. Could you give us a little sneak preview of what our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors can expect when they read That Girl on TV Could Be Me, and really some of the important messages that you wanted to be able to convey in the process of writing this book?
Yes, the story is a child autobiography. It's based on my life, a little girl growing up in Galt, California, a very tiny town with a population of only 20,000 people. As a little girl, I spent a lot of time watching the news and wondering why no one on TV looked like me at the time. So I remember having that conversation when I was just 5 years old, asking her, Mom, why doesn't anyone on TV look like me? And it talks about the American dream, immigrant parents coming here, me being the first in my family to go to college and setting that example for my siblings and for my cousins, and also opening the doors to the television world and letting people know that it's not about being on TV. It's about giving people a voice. Television life is not glitz and glamour. It's not just makeup and clothing. We have a very important job as voice connectors for our community. And I hope that people who read that book, if they have aspirations to be on TV, that they pursue it, but that they know they're doing it for the right reasons, that they know it's because they want to help their community. They want to volunteer in their community. They want to be role models in their community. It's not about being famous or anything like that. It's you want to be a community role model and do good. And I just hope that little girls and boys who read the book, whatever they want to do, that they know that they can achieve it with hard work, determination, and a village behind you.
And I feel that it's so important, especially when we're sharing these messages with children right now. If we are, raising a future generation of newscasters in the process, whether it be, weather boys, weather girls, sportscasters, reporters, anchors, I feel that no matter what your religion is, if you're religious, spiritual, or you worship at the altar of Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's a little sports reference, right? Or, I'm trying to think of a famous Sacramento athlete. I go back to like the Kings with Vlade Divac and Chris Webber. That was my, like, another world, like in sports, so to speak. But no matter what your religion is, no matter what your faith is, no matter what your ethnicity is, the importance of having an open heart is so important. Again, in this time frame where it could be very easy to focus on our differences, and we don't look the same, or we talk a little bit different, right? I feel that also one of the silver linings that's happening amid COVID is the fact that people are becoming more open, right? Maybe you'll have those people that are extremely hard-headed, that they're set in their ways, but you do have those people that are saying, especially through like the Black Lives Matter movement, you have, white men, white women that are saying, I want to learn more. I'm open to having a conversation. I think just having that openness, this is just my message to all the little ones that are tuning in that, that want to be, the next Leticia Ordaz, to be able to have that open heart, just like Leticia. And then, then we'll do our part to be able to make the world a little bit more of a better place in the process. One of the things that I had mentioned two things actually I should say that I had alluded to earlier in our time together tonight here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. Mr. Rogers, throughout the course of his time on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and specifically when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmy shortly before he transitioned, he encouraged all of us to be able to take the time to remember those who helped love us into being. Those wonderful neighbors, you can call them angels, on your path that helped you, whether it be during a challenging time, who maybe helped to remind you of that little something special that you have inside before you even realize that yourself. Who are some of the people that come to mind that helped love Leticia Ordaz into being?
Oh, that is so awesome that you say that. Dealing with the television book, there was a television anchor named Lois Hart, and I always looked up to her growing up. She was one of the first CNN anchors. She and her husband, Dave Walker, actually helped launch and start CNN. So I always looked up to her. And then one day I got to work with her. I became an intern at KCRA and got to be guided by this beautiful woman who was the best journalist out there. And then I got to work with her. I was hired there, and I got to sit in a desk right next to her, and she guided me so much. She taught me so much, and I am so appreciative of her warm heart. And it just goes to show that in this business, it's not about competition. It's about making friends and helping others succeed. So she was one of the people who really guided me. And then I have to go back to my mom who has always encouraged me to believe that I could achieve what she hadn't achieved. My parents, because they had such large families growing up in Mexico, they were only able to get through the 6th grade. But I got to tell you that they are some of the smartest people that I know, and I have learned so much from my parents. They have taught me hard work, dedication, and to believe and to love everyone, to love our neighbors. So I got to say that my parents, as well as Lois Hart, were some of my biggest inspirations and continue to be.
Those are some great people that help love you into being. And then as a perfect bookend to that, we have a little segment here on the Children's Book Spotlight series called 3 Wishes. Now, if you're wondering, Jonathan, do you happen to have a genie lamp in your office and in your studio? The answer is yes. I just happen to keep it on standby. I feel that all of us really have the gift, whether we choose to believe it or not, it's a completely different story. I feel that we're all here to be able to help bring into form and shape the heartfelt wishes that we desire in our heart into reality, whatever that may necessarily look like, however that may translate to yourself. You have given so openly from your heart to your little ones, to your family, to your station, to the entire community of Sacramento, to children all across the country and around the world. So you thought this was just a children's book spotlight series interview, and in fact, you're actually getting 3 wishes this evening. Now, I tend to, the old adage was be careful what you ask for because you might get it. Now, it's kind of like, the universe has this big like antenna where it's like, be careful what you ask for because you will get it. Words have a lot of power right now, especially. So whether it be wishes for yourself, wishes for your family, wishes for the Sacramento community, wishes for the planet, for humanity, what would those 3 wishes be, Leticia?
Oh, that's a tough one. There could be a lot of wishes there, but I just really hope that the seniors in our community continue to find hope and to feel the love out there. So many of them are stuck in nursing homes right now, and they're a vulnerable population. And so they're not having that physical connection with their loved ones where they can hug them and hold them. And I know that a lot of them are still learning technology. And I just hope that they have access to technology to be able to do FaceTime with their loved ones and to not lose that hope that they will see their family again. They will get to hug on their grandchildren. I know how much grandmas like to kiss their babies. So I just want the coronavirus to be over so our seniors don't feel so isolated. I just hope that they can feel the love that our community has for them, that they keep on fighting and keep knowing that it's going to be okay. That's one of my wishes.
What would be some of your other wishes?
My other wish would be for every child to be able to have food on the table, to be able to have books on the table, to be in a home filled with love. It's a tough time right now because schools may not reopen, and for so many kids, schools are their only safe space. So it breaks my heart to think that a child who may be in a troubled environment at home may not be able to escape that violence. And I really hope that neighbors can look out for them, and if there's an issue, for them to seek help for that child, for them to love on these children that are our neighbors so they don't go without and they are not forgotten during these tough times.
And one of our final questions, we hear the term, it's still obviously used today, and I feel that it has the heart and the intentionality of what Mr. Rogers had shared for many years on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. What does being a good neighbor mean to you?
A good neighbor means not thinking about yourself, not doing anything for a selfish reason, to give to others and to expect nothing in return. I sent boxes of books to children in Mexico who haven't had a new book in their library or school for 30 years. And to me, the biggest reward is just to hear that I brought joy to them, to know that they are going to be able to read a beautiful book that represents them, and for them to know that a stranger is looking out for them and that a stranger loves them. So I feel like giving to somebody else and not expecting anything in return, to find something simple that we can all do, because we all have more than someone else. So if we can give a little to somebody else, I think that the world would be a better place.
And I believe that what you're touching upon is similar to one of the other favorite visuals that I like to share here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, and that in Australia, you have a boomerang. Now, if you throw it the right way, it eventually makes its way back to you, right? So I feel that, as you said, you put more love and kindness into the world. You may not necessarily know how it will reflect, if it'll come back 5 seconds later, 5 minutes later, 5 days later. But you really have to be in a very big space of trust right now. The fact that if you're putting more good out into the world, that eventually it makes its way back to you in the process. What are some of the takeaways for our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, when they're sharing the adventures of Mr. Macaw, either for the inner child within themselves, because I really believe that children's books are actually disguised as children's books, and they're actually meant for us adults as big kids, right? So whether it be someone who's deciding to read your book to nurture the inner child within them, or whether they're taking the time to read the book to their little ones, to their grandchildren, for educators who are reading your new book to their students as part of this, this summer learning, summer reading, leading into this back to school. What are some of the takeaways that you hope that people extract and you hope that they'll remember after reading The Adventures of Mr. Macaw?
Definitely. Well, inclusion is a big thing for me. I hope that all children will read the book and that they will look at their neighbors in a whole different light. If they don't have anyone in their life that is Latino in their neighborhood, for them to open their eyes to another culture and to see that we are all the same, to see that there are so many beautiful things about the culture, and to just love on others, to just be able to embrace other cultures. And if someone speaks another language, for no one to be embarrassed about it, to not look down on a neighbor who is speaking Spanish, who may need a little help speaking English. I hope it teaches children sensitivity. And I also hope it teaches families adventure. Get off the couch, go fly a kite, do something adventurous with your own children. It's not going to cost you a lot of money to get out there and do something like that. Get everyone off technology, go to the beach, run across the beach. It's going to bring your family together, and your children are going to look back 30 years from now and still have those memories with you. So I feel like the takeaways are adventure, inclusion, embracing of another language.
I have to give you credit, Leticia, because within one day you helped me connect with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Pure Imagination. And I pay attention very closely, and I heard the phrase, let's go fly a kite, and I think of Mr. Banks and Mary Poppins. And the little kids, when they say, let's go fly a kite, right? But this is, again, go back to Gene Wilder's Pure Imagination. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. And Mr. Macaw, one of our favorite neighbors, one of our newest neighbors, is here to help you do that in the process. Again, if you head on over to Amazon.com, feel free to leave your 5-star review in the process. You can stay connected, of course, with Leticia on Twitter, on Instagram. We have the links below in the comments below so that you can continue this wonderful conversation with Leticia into the latter half of the Summer of Magic and Miracles. And a special shout out, of course, to Leticia's illustrator, Yana Popova, who did such an amazing job with the illustrations. And of course, to your wonderful publishing team at Cielito Lindo Books. Again, if you're having a bad day, just say Cielito Lindo Books and just look at this like quirky smile on your face like I have right now, right? So again, episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We still have another 11 days left to go in this month-long celebration here at Empowered Publicity as we celebrate 6 years of being of service to all of you, and of course to be able to give back and inspire all of the children across the country and around the world. So we are looking forward to episode number 14 of the Empowered Publicity Storytime with Mr. Jonathan this forthcoming Thursday, July the 23rd, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. One of our favorite neighbors, Vicki Weber. We are going to be sharing her brand new release, The Song Garden, and we will be sharing valuable lessons from the heart of our favorite neighbor, this guy behind me, right over there, valuable lessons from the heart of Mr. Rogers on the healing and creative power of music. Of course, if you remember many episodes in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, thanks to Mr. Rogers, he introduced us to Itzhak Perlman, to Yo-Yo Ma, some of the greatest musicians of our generation and all generations. So music is not just music. There is so much creativity within music as the result of music. And of course, there's so much healing energy in music as well, too. So we're going to be sharing all of that this forthcoming Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific for episode number 14 of the Empowered Publicity Storytime with Mr. Jonathan. And then we'll be traveling down next Monday, July the 27th at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific for episode number 86 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. One of our newest neighbors, Oscar Redden IV. He'll be joining us all the way down in Orlando, Florida to share his brand release, Albert the Albatross, Attitude Equals Altitude. We're going to be sharing this next week. Really excited to be able to connect with Oscar, one of our newest neighbors who are spending some time with us here in our neighborhood. Next Monday, episode number 86 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. A couple of other brief mentions that we want to be able to share in the process. To the near 4,000 of you across the country and around the world that took the time to be able to tune into Matthew Cordell's Children's Book Spotlight series. Of course, Matthew Cordell, the Caldecott Award-winning illustrator and author of the brand new release, Hello Neighbor, The Kind and Caring World of Mr. Rogers, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at Holiday House Publishing Incorporated and Neil Porter Books. It is now available. If you missed it, you can head on over to our official website, empoweredpublicity.com. You can, of course, subscribe to the Empowered Publicity YouTube channel as well. And very close to becoming the second most viewed and downloaded children's book spotlight series interview in our near 2-year history. So to all of you, for all of your support of Matthew and just tuning into this wonderful interview, I wanted to thank all of you, especially from my heart to yours. To one of our newest neighbors as well, we are so grateful to be able to give back to our little neighbors in need at Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. If you stay connected with us at Empowered Publicity on Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity, Twitter at Empowered_PR, you will have the opportunities to see the wonderful interview that I had the opportunities to do with Crystal Leon, who is the creator, founder, and operator of A Soldier's Wife, which is one of the most beautiful children's book blogs that's out there, period. And over the course of the next 10 weeks, you'll have the opportunities to learn more about some of our favorite neighbors here at Empowered Publicity, some of our featured children's authors we have the opportunities to be of service to in the process. You'll see some wonderful Q&As. You'll see some great book reviews in the process. And beginning tomorrow, one of our favorite neighbors from Chicago, Illinois, Stenetta Anthony, will be sitting down with Crystal to share her brand new release, A Home for Sally. So again, we'll be sharing that on all of our social media platforms in the process. For all of you who have supported Empowered Publicity over the course of these past several weeks, especially the release of our brand new website. It's happening inch by inch and row by row. I think there's a children's song that says inch by inch and row by row, gonna make this garden grow, or something like that, right? But that's the new Empowered Publicity website. Over the course of the next several weeks, it will be fully launched into completion. So we hope that you enjoy all of the wonderful content. Very shortly, you will have a one-stop shop to check out all of your favorite Children's Book Spotlight Series episodes, Shining Star Series episodes, and Story Time with Mr. Jonathan episodes. We, of course, do not want to forget all of those who are celebrating birthdays here in our neighborhood at Empowered Publicity. For all of you, by the way, if you are celebrating a birthday, well, you know what? Celebrate. It's your birthday. It's a magical day. It's going to be a magical year for yourself. Just want to give a few special birthday shout outs to some of our favorite neighbors. Julie Edwards, one of the most amazing children's illustrators that is out there. She's a tremendous award-winning graphics designer. She's celebrating her birthday. Actually, my confirmation sponsor and former grammar school music teacher, Mr. Contapio, he is celebrating his birthday. You want to talk about someone who helped love me into being? That is Mr. Contapio. He is celebrating his birthday. One of our favorite neighbors here in Buffalo, Taz Perelez, she's celebrating her birthday. One of our favorite neighbors in the Czech Republic, Jana Dvorsky, she is celebrating her birthday. Such an amazing children's author, Stacy Bauer, she is celebrating her birthday this week as well. And I think that there's one of our favorite neighbors, Kevin Daniel Moore, out in the UK. He is celebrating his birthday. So for all of you and for all those that I didn't mention who are celebrating your birthday, who may be joining us near or far, here's a little birthday surprise and a birthday gift for you. Of course, as an homage to our dear neighbor, Mr. Rogers. Happy birthday, dear friends, we sing to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. We thought we'd try to tell you how we love you on your birthday. We thought we'd try to sing and dance and play today. We wanted to surprise you on your birthday and say we love you every day, not just today. Happy birthday, dear friends. We sing to you, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Or in the words of Mrs. Leonard, feliz cumpleaños a ti, feliz cumpleaños a ti, feliz cumpleaños a ti, feliz cumpleaños a ti. It's like we got all bases covered here on episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. So this has just been such a great trolley stop. Has it not been? This has been a tremendous
lot of fun
here this week. If you are a children's author, if you are a children's illustrator, and you would like to share your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book, just like Leticia did here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight, is if you would like to become a member of the Empowered Publicity family and join us here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, you can connect with us, of course, via any of our social media platforms, which I mentioned, Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity, Twitter at Empowered_PR, and via our official website, empoweredpublicity.com. If you're a children's author illustrator and you would like for us to share your brand new children's book on the Empowered Publicity Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, you know where to connect with us. If you are a children's author or illustrator and you would like to be able to learn a little bit more information about what we do at Empowered Publicity and how we can be of service to you in our 7th year of operation, whether it be more information about our media coaching and mentoring program, if you would like to facilitate your own virtual media tour, or if you would like to help, if you would like for us to help you facilitate your own book and media tour in a city of your choosing, you can connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com, schedule your discovery call in the process, and let us see how we can be of service to you. Once again, one final time, such a beautiful children's book. I love the illustrations. Once again, The Adventures of Mr. Macaw, Las Aventuras del Señor Macaw, right? English and Spanish. It is now available courtesy of our friends at Cielito Lindo Books. You can head on over to Amazon if you feel guided to do so. Leave a 5-star review in the process. Be on the lookout for That Girl on TV Could Be Me. That is coming out in October, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Leticia?
Mid-October.
Okay, wonderful. And of course, we'll share some information about the release once that actually comes out in the process, possibly a return appearance back to our neighborhood from Leticia in the process. Lastly, let us not forget the message of our favorite neighbor. Mr. Rogers reminds us, he reminded us many years ago in the neighborhood. He's still reminding us, through me, I guess. He's reminding all of us, especially to remind our little ones, our little neighbors, our children, that you are perfect, you are whole, you are healthy, you are complete, that you are loved and you are special just the way that you are. That I like you just the way that you are. And our 2 favorite series of numbers here in the Children's Book Spotlight series, 143 and 243. Somehow Mr. Rogers weighed 143 pounds for his natural adult life. I don't know how he managed to do that. But 143, of course, 1 letter in I, 4 letters in love, 3 letters in you. That means that I love you. But we never are alone. We never fly solo here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. So thanks to Leticia for joining us this week. We're here to remind you that 243, which means that we love you. So, of course, it is time to hop back aboard the trolley. Somehow the trolley manages to fit all of us across the country and around the world, and it travels by beams of light. So again, if this message has brought hope, healing, love into your heart or the heart of your little one, we invite you to share episode number 85 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, the message of the adventures of Mr. Macaw, the power of pure imagination, on your favorite social media platforms in the process. So we look forward to connecting with all of you once again this forthcoming Thursday for an all-new edition of the Empowered Publicity Storytime with Mr. Jonathan, as we will be sharing Vicki Weber's brand new release, The Song Garden, which is, of course, now available as well. That is this forthcoming Thursday. And then we'll return to close out the month of July and our conclusion of our 6-year anniversary celebration with Oscar Redden IV for episode number 86 of the Children's Book Spotlight series to share his brand new release, Albert the Albatross, and his inspiring story as well. Until we connect once again, friends and neighbors, thank you for spending some time with us here at the Children's Book Spotlight series. And most importantly, thank you for helping us to walk home, the children of the world. We'll see all of you once again very soon. Thank you for a wonderful trolley stop this evening. Take care, everybody. From my heart to yours and from Leticia's heart to yours, thank you so much.